Hello and welcome to Coffee with Dr. Carla. I'm Dr. Carla. This is Lori Smith.
Hello.
And we are so glad you're here. Our goal today is to talk about some mental health related issues and the stigma surrounding them, and maybe we can start to break some of that down. You had a nice long career with the state's attorney's office, and so with that came a familiarity with the family court system.
Yes.
So I don't know that many of us really truly understand how that system works, even if we've had to deal with it, right?
Right.
So maybe can you enlighten us about that process, like what happens in family court? Why does it exist? Yeah.
So there are a variety of things that can happen in family court. My first entree to it, working through the state's attorney's office, was where there were companion cases in family court when families also had experienced domestic violence,
Okay.
right, or sexual abuse of children. And so there often was a case in juvenile court, in criminal court, at the domestic violence courthouse, and then either a family was already involved in dissolution of marriage, or trying to get figure out parentage, or talk about custody, or um, parental time. And so there was a case in family court. And it was, I think I'm going to use the words, a hot mess for a very, very long time. Much like everything else in huge systems, the left hand and the right hand were not working together.
Sure.
And so there were many councils and uh, really good minds, honestly, that sat down and looked at this, um, and brought in mental health professionals and sort of streamlined things so that the left and the right hand could work better together.
Yay.
Yay,
Yeah.
right? And then there's just the functioning of family court separate from all these other court systems, which is the way most people enter family court,
Sure.
right? And so at family court, we're looking at child support, issues of um, uh, child support. Um, we're looking at issues of establishing parentage or paternity, uh, and also things like divorce,
Sure.
which is, all those are just loaded and create stress for people and can help
And we have such a
topple their mental health.
yeah, and we have such a high rate of divorce.
Yes,
That literally it's a flip of a coin whether or not the marriage is going to work, right?
correct.
So I imagine that family court is hopping.
Hopping. Yes.
So as you think about your time in family court, what are some of the things or patterns or that you notice that you think might be helpful for us to know, right?
Sure.
Whether we're in family court now or, it'd be nice if you never had to experience family court,
Hmm.
but what are some of those patterns or nuances that you noticed?
Um, I think one of the best things that happened was the change in the way the court thought about what used to get called custody,
Okay.
right? And even the words that developed around it, a custody battle or a custody fight. Um, there were In 2016, I attended a seminar that talked about new changes that were coming down. It wasn't really till 2019 that some of the protocols were established,
Sure.
but that really took this idea of custody and changed it to parenting time, and looked at really what the kids became the focus.
Right.
And the, uh, and so it even sort of broke off, court even sort of broke off working on the stuff with the kids and figuring out what was best for the kids, and parenting time and parenting duties and parenting responsibility, and then handling all the financial stuff separately. Um, and there developed this uh, set of mediation So one of the best things families can do is try to mediate things with a mediator. Usually that's a lawyer. Sometimes it's a mental health professional that's gone through training
Yeah.
who can help the parents talk through financial financial disillusion, separating out the financial things, and can help them talk about parenting and how to organize that in the best interest of the children. And then they take that, and usually one lawyer's hired, and um, they're representing one person, but
But
there's
because there was
unless it's
already
there's already an agreement,
agreement,
right,
then
right,
neither party gets
right. And unless
the
it's
short end of the stick, right?
unless it gets contested while that lawyer is representing one person, it's really what's come out of mediation that's
Right.
in front of the judge. And that really is one of the best ways to resolve this. There are families that sit down, couples that sit down and kind of work it all out themselves. Usually, those are people who don't have a lot of money
Right.
and can't afford to spend, and this is a modest number that I'm throwing out, between ten and $35,000 to even go through mediation
Right.
and at court. And so they sit down and they work it out, they figure it out, and they find somebody to write up what they've worked out, and they go to court and settle it,
Right.
right?
Right.
And then there's the ugly end of the spectrum where things get more contested, and the court really has tried to keep the ugliness out of issues with children. And unfortunately, there are still those situations where things get ugly with that or complicated. There's really a difference.
Right.
Sometimes a parent um, lives with a mental health or a mental illness or a serious mental health challenges or a substance problem. And so that becomes a legitimate concern, right?
Right.
For the other parent. They may not they may really want that person involved in their child's life, but they also know that there are challenges that the kids can't manage.
Right. Limitations to how
Absolutely.
one can keep them
Right.
safe. Yeah.
And so often in those situations, there's a referral for a mental health assessment that then is incorporated as part of a um, parenting assessment.
So something you had said earlier about the shift in how we looked at these situations, um, and it just reminded me how important words are, because pre, well, 2016, probably technically 19, like you said, it took a while to get it in place, but pre that, when you had children, it was about custody. One parent got custody, the other parent got visitation. Well, if I think, and I've had this opinion, but it just really struck me today. But if I'm the parent with visitation, am I the? It almost sounds like I'm not the parent. It's my
Right,
job to be the fun one, right? And this is
right,
where, and this is, I mean,
right,
right. This is where we have the downfall of the, sorry, dads, I'm going to bash on you a second. The Disney dads who, when they get them on the weekend, it's all fun, 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 right?
right.
Because stereotypically that's been it, right? But now when we're talking about co-parenting, that means like you both have parenting duties, right? Where it didn't used to be talked about in that way. And I think it perpetuated this disconnect between uh, the two parents
And harm the kids.
and harmed the kids.
Harm the kids because that Disney dad is a dad
Yeah. And would
and
like to be a
would
dad.
like to be a
Yeah.
dad and participate in decisions, right? And while that was preserved in the law pre the
Yeah.
changes, it really now has become it's codified. The language is different.
Sure. Semantics matter. So if I'm telling
Exactly.
you your parenting time, it might only be every other weekend, but it's parenting
Right.
time, not visiting.
Well, and the
You,
court's taken pains to set up ways for parents to communicate. There are people who have, quote, friendly divorces or amicable divorces and
sure.
can call each other and talk and have come to a mutual decision. there are people who had a hard time communicating as a couple, and they
And it
still have a
continues.
hard time,
Yeah.
but the court has set up and there's developed an industry around it, but it's been helpful of apps where people can talk just about this
Right.
so that they can communicate about their kids
Right.
and come to that hopefully better decisions about their kids, right?
In a safe
In a
way.
safe way.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and this is so complex and so many different facets. So if you're going through something like this, please reach out to somebody, whether it's a support group or, you know, maybe a counselor, I guess, you know. Um, so remember, you could change your thoughts, discover your potential, and transform your life by focusing on your overall well being. So until next time, continue working on being the best you possible. Bye now.
Thank you.